All right, we have a good Sky Include video. I haven't done as many lately, but I'm saving the good ones. We Daniel Harrison, which was cool. We had him at HandyCon sharing about the listings, and you've been talking to so many different people, in major holders, community members, scammers on Telegram. So, you're taking a lot of input and insights. So it's great. Maybe that's the whole topic in itself. But I think today we're talking about a proposal for a hard fork. To me, hard forks always sounds bad or scary, right? Like to me, it, I don't know, the word sounds like negative, at least in my opinion, but it means change, right? It basically means a little bit of change. So I guess first, before I should, maybe introduce yourself a bit and what you're doing at Handshake for those that don't know, and then, yeah, maybe a little bit of the origin of, what you've been hearing. And you've been talking to all kinds of different people in the community, from holders to different people in the general community, as well as I joke with scammers in the Telegram group that are like wanting to buy billions on OTC for like double the price. But I know you're talking a lot of different people, and I think there's this been notion of a hard fork. So I just think maybe a little bit about how this came to be, and what you've been hearing.
Yeah, no, right. Thanks for having me on. Thank you for this opportunity. Uh, this is something that we've certainly heard a lot about. So at the HandyCon event, the last time you would have seen me was the HandyCon event. Most people would have seen me by this screen. It's the HandyCon event where I was talking about marketing and listings for Handshake. And so I have been talking to the exchanges, and I've been also heard back since then from a lot of investors who have been involved in this really since the days that it was 78 cents on down. There's a lot of people, a lot of investors been averaging down the coin by doing OTC buying off exchange what they can, buying from miners, as well as TLD holders with single letter TLDs. I mean, people have paid basically, invested a good over seven figures in Handshake. So substantial people, and more than a handful of these, right? A number of these kind of big investors in Handshake, and everything they've said continuously. The feedback that I've had is the same thing continuously. So when you, without sort of me bringing it up, has been something that has been mentioned to me. So along these lines, you start to go, okay, I'm hearing this again and again and again, and then once you hear it so many times, you want to share it. So I think, and that's where I shared it on the marketing calls that you organise every couple of weeks, and we have a crowd from Handshake come together with some of the marketing professionals. Again, we got some great professionals. Okay, so what I've been hearing is that Handshake needs a slight consolidation in terms of the leadership focus within the community, and also should go about trying to build somewhat of a war chest when undertaking these next steps in the protocol's evolution and life cycle, such as browser integrations, ramping up media and PR and all this kind of stuff. Building up a war chest really means getting some money on side. And so basically putting some money in place and getting a team of, experienced people and leaders who will be able to make sure that this, the technology becomes pervasive. Now, their argument is that for the past 4 years, there hasn't been, whilst there's been a fantastic amount of development, no one is actually incentivized, and no one is actually, no one is a point of contact for what are actually quite substantial integrations and marketing exercises and growth building purposes, basically. And that's halting the progress of the protocol overall and the coin. And that's why, for example, Handshake is not resolving on any browsers right now, apart from Aloha, or without the without the additional step of a website, something. Whereas, for instance, there are other protocols where those resolutions are taking place. For example, as an example, the strongest piece of advice to do this is to consider a hard fork. Now, the way this would work is the following. There's already a hard fork that is absolutely being considered and pretty much agreed on because of the following. There's branded names like Google, Facebook, all of these top 100,000 Alexa names, that are locked up at the moment. And I believe Andrew Lee was asked at HandyCon about this, whether they should be extended in his view. And he said, yes, they probably should be extended. Those names probably should be extended. The time that those companies have to claim their names should probably be extended till there's a bit more pervasiveness in the market of the Handshake solution. I assume that means really until Handshake is resolving properly on browsers as part of the internet. If we're going to do that anyway, there's a huge number of coins, about 700 million odd coins, that are locked up at the moment that have never been claimed by the developers on GitHub, right? So when there was when the protocol was put up, and I don't think many people are aware of this, when the protocol was created, there were a certain number of coins, a small number of coins that were distributed among the founders of the project. A small number of coins that distributed among the investors who invested in the project. And then what the founders did was give the cash that was raised to a number of grantees, so a number of recipients. Mostly they were sort of technology focused, political rights type groups and things. And they also gave them a small number of coins, Handshake coins. There was a large number of coins, and then obviously the remainder is all for mining. But there was a large number of coins, 918 million coins or so, a large number, that were locked up for GitHub developers who haven't, in the last 4 years, claimed those coins. Now, if we left it as it is, what will happen is those coins will just expire as GitHub. Those coins will effectively be burned. Or there's another way to go about it. Sorry, are you about to
Well, I
ask
don't
a
know if they're
question?
really burned. I think they would just stay there forever. We could burn them, but I don't think they'll be burned if we don't. They'll just stay there, I think.
No, they won't be burnt, but they'll be effectively burnt because they'll be staying there forever.
Yeah, because some people have said to burn them, which maybe we could also bring up the differences of burning
Yeah,
versus.
so we can discuss.
But yeah, I
So
think
the problem with burning them, the problem with burning those coins as opposed to releasing them in a hard fork is this: burning won't actually solve any of the issues that Handshake is currently facing. It won't put money, on the table so that Handshake can go and pursue integration and further development. It won't free up more funding. If you look around the Handshake ecosystem, there's these high quality people, almost all of which have ideas and energy to drive something into being. Now I'll say here, for the record, right, in communicating this point and suggesting that some sort of foundation be organized and that those coins be put into a foundation, which is what I'm saying. And then investors can participate by buying some of those coins, and that foundation has some capital. By communicating this point, I recuse myself from ever wanting to be involved in any official sense with the foundation. I'm not. I wouldn't be. My skill sets are not those that would align themselves with being very good at being a governor of the foundation. So I have no personal vested interest in this. This is a point that I am sharing that has been shared with me by major holders of Handshake and their assets. So I'm really a mouthpiece for those individuals who have probably contributed more buying power more financial support to Handshake, in the past 4 years than anyone else, and so they deserve to be. They
Well, I
deserve for their
guess
best.
maybe I don't want to say devil's advocate, but I'll maybe somebody's thinking when you're saying, are they trying to be part of this foundation? Because there's a lot of these skeptics,
Yeah, that's right. People might be
So are
thinking,
those people that are talking to you wanting to be on this foundation? Maybe not you, but are those
no, funnily
people
enough,
wanting to be on it?
none of those people want to be involved. None of these people want to be involved in the governance
Okay, just want to put that
level.
out because I
They're,
could see
they're
somebody
investors
watching or
who,
listening.
yeah, it's a good question. They're investors who have no desire whatsoever to be
All right,
politically
that's
active.
reassuring. That's reassuring.
What they want to see is they want to see Handshake. Look, there's a number of these in the Web3 environment. There's a number of we can say technologically inferior solutions that are gaining a lot of market share because they have a funding base and uh, and a sort of leadership focus, right? That's just the case. I mean, whether we're talking about, I mean, I won't go into names here, but there's a number of them. You can look
Yeah, I
into the
think
space.
I think anybody in the space knows the other what you're
Right,
talking
and
about.
so putting money behind Handshake, and we have such a fabulous community. I mean, again, I won't specifically name individuals here because they might not want to be named on a video, but there are people here with great technical, great business, great marketing, great, one of them, another great individual in our community is, even worked with the Department of Defense. I mean, that's a great, it's a fantastic experience, super bright person. So we've got all these fantastic people who seem to have really credentials, both at a skill level, at an academic level, at a commercial level, and all these people would make fine candidates for governors of the foundation. They would be great points of contact for large browsers, such as you know uh, Firefox, and getting an installation done, for example, which is something that we should be pursuing. Absolutely, 100%. They would be great coordinators of an engineering effort to get these integrations underway, and also they'd be great uh, allocators of capital when it came to making decisions about how to spend a marketing budget and all of this kind of stuff. They're responsible, proven people in their own right outside of Handshake. So put them in a governance position. So a hard fork could do this. It would take those coins, it would put them all in a foundation that would be established with these, with a sort of board of trustees that would be actively empowered to form sort of subgroups and delegate tasks out to those subgroups with a certain amount of capital, and would be compensated for doing that purpose while they were doing it. And I think there would have to be people who were actively involved in Handshake for at least the bulk of the last 4 years, right? We don't want sort of brand new people just kind of applying to come onto this role unless they're
I think
extremely
maybe a
credentialed.
year or so. I don't
And
think it has to
then,
be
yeah,
4 years. I mean,
yeah,
when
a
I was
year or so.
before,
They have
but
to have a proven time period. Yeah, whatever the metric is. And also to drive up the mining and negotiate with Bitmain and all that kind of stuff. Right. So, these, because all of these things are, I think what people forget is these are logistically quite complex and quite uh, tiresome things to execute, to put it bluntly. They take a lot of time, they take a lot of energy, and you're going to need a professional team in place. I mean, one investor said to me, because I said, well, there's a bias towards total decentralization. He said to me, decentralization is a process. Now, if you look at Bitcoin, which is often seen as the
yeah,
analogous,
yeah. Thanks for
right?
bringing this up. Yeah,
Bitcoin had a foundation in its initial stages, just like this one, and that foundation played a pivotal and absolutely crucial role in bringing Bitcoin to where it is today. Basically, for the first 4 or 5 years of Bitcoin's life, there was a Bitcoin foundation. There were elected presidents of that foundation. They worked very closely with the media, which in this case was they worked very closely with getting helping CoinDesk become, CoinDesk is like a cornerstone publication in the cryptocurrency world today. With getting that working with that publication, so that publication was able to kind of deliver interesting content and things. They worked very closely with a number of different developers and certainly with the media in terms of raising awareness.
Yeah.
These things do work. I mean, it worked in Bitcoin's case.
Yeah, I see
So,
bitcoinfoundation.org. I don't, yeah, it's 2012 established.
and there's no reason. I mean, if you look at, so we take the two sides of Satoshi's dream. One is that money is going to be decentralized in this way, technologically speaking, and that happened with Bitcoin. And the other is that DNS is going to be decentralized, right? Something we've been talking about a lot lately. This is a great story. And that's happened with Handshake. But because Handshake has not consolidated in the same way that Bitcoin did early on, with a clear sort of leadership. Now, this foundation doesn't have to go on forever and ever.
Yeah, I
Once
have that on my
Handshake
points.
is
Yeah,
stick with it,
exactly.
yeah,
Like I think, yeah, continue on that part, but
yeah. So once Handshake is consolidate. Okay, so because Handshake hasn't consolidated yet in leadership terms in this way, that half of Satoshi's dream has not yet been fully realized. I mean, Handshake is the potential realization of the other half of Satoshi Nakamoto's dream for how blockchain scales. And so there is another aspect of this that decentralized, or those with uh, um, a strong decentralized bias need to consider, which is, there's kind of an obligation here to make sure that this technology scales in the most disruptive way it can. For me personally, I believe that Handshake should be resolving on every single browser in the world as an alternate extension to the internet, because that's just going to happen. I strongly believe that in a way that I mean, I haven't seen anything like this technology since Bitcoin, to be honest with you. And this has an even bigger scalability potential than Bitcoin, even bigger, even more widespread. It's really a Bitcoin with a factor at the top, right? A little exponent. It really is.
yeah,
So when you think of that scaling process, and you think, right, when you're here and you're going to try and take it way up here, right? There is a hell of a lot of complexity, a lot of logistic challenges, and a lot of different parties that are involved in that process. Now, and interacting with those parties and getting them to do certain things, that is absolutely impossible unless you have a consolidated leadership and point of contact focus through which these steps can be taken. That's the argument that big investors are making to me, and they're all saying everything. Now, this is another thing. So you might say, well, okay, but would those investors buy more coins if more coins were available? Yes, every single one of them would take a large number of coins and buy in because they think that they really believe in the thing at the point of the hard fork. So not only are they suggesting it, they're saying that they would actually contribute financially to that process, which I think gives it a lot of substance.
got it. Okay, so I'm just going to recap just to help recap the points because we've talked about this on Twitter Space and we've had, like you said, marketing calls. So the two major pieces is extending the name claims for major names that are reserved so that they don't expire after the 4-year mark. And
Yeah.
since we're doing that anyway, also look at this GitHub developer airdrop that's not been claimed I think technically mainnet was March 2020, so it's been 2.5 years. And that will then get hard forked out to a foundation. And this foundation will then be in charge of getting more adoption through integrations and also grants to third-party developers and marketing initiatives. So the alternative, some people says burning those coins, and you say that's not going to be an effective way. And the big holders you're talking to say also because it wouldn't go towards adoption or developers, it would just be burned. It would.
And because Handshake doesn't have a oversupply problem. The reason the Handshake price is drifting in a downward motion at the moment isn't because there's too much Handshake available on the market. It's because there's little to no uptake in terms of immediate interest in the coin because there's a drifting going on.
Okay. So, and then the other part I like to highlight is Bitcoin also has had a foundation in early days. So I know there's a lot of these decentralized people. I feel like I like decentralization. That's what I like about the project. But even Bitcoin had a foundation early on. So that's another argument for something like this. Also, I think you said it, and I think people should note on this that you're not trying to self-elect yourself or people that you're talking to, that we would try to find active contributors in the ecosystem over the, since, it's long, certain amount of time. And the other point I like is the dissolving. Potentially, this doesn't need to exist forever. Because when I talk to developers, sometimes they have pushback. They're like, "Oh, these marketing or business guys, like maybe they would consider maybe you or me that don't, they're not. They're trying to make, you know, be control or be the boss or whatever. I kind of feel that, and when I've read some discords or telegrams or other channels, but the point is this is a temporary solution to get over the Bridging the Chasm was a good book I read in college, was Bridging the Chasm. So we got to still bridge the chasm. So maybe we can have a set point where this would dissolve over time. And also I guess some people, even I, are concerned how would we decide the funds are used? I guess within this elected people that are elected to be in charge of these funds. I think there was discussions that whether it's Twitter space or we've had multiple calls on this. Maybe there will be a certain amount of time that certain funds could be used and not all at once,
Yeah,
maybe.
well, some of them could be allocated into a DAO where there could be community decisions made on a portion of funds. Absolutely. I think you'd want to leave, again, if you do this, you want to do it with a purpose. So you want to put people there who you just think are really great people as trustees of the foundation and leave the bulk of the cash there. And, trust that process by which there's elections. So everyone who's involved in Handshake has an ability to elect this team, right? And really kind of look to any potential critics of this. I'll say that the top people, the people who are most active contributors in Handshake, and I'm sure everyone can agree on. Personally, I think they're some of the highest quality people that you see in any blockchain project. They just are. I mean, they're really intelligent, proven people, and so would I trust those people in such a position? Yeah, I'd be crazy not to.
Yeah, there's a lot of non-crypto people. They're not like full-time crypto people. There are people that found out about this organically, even like me. I mean, I'm somewhat involved in I'm getting more involved lately, but I was also attracted to this. I wasn't so active in crypto because I was part of Bitcoin and things over the years. But yeah, a lot of these people in the community are not like professional crypto traders or crypto kind of people. They're like maybe from the web or
Yeah,
domains.
they're not business people trying to cut deals. They're not launching, they're not launching meme coins. They're actually
So
building infrastructure, and
yeah,
they're the kind of people. Handshake is unusual in that it has so high-level engineers and concept artists, and actually people building stuff and getting stuff done in and outside crypto. So that's something. And at the moment, those people are not in a position where they're particularly empowered or incentivized to propagate the network. That's going to be a problem. And what's more is you have to consider the case here where if sometimes the biggest risk that there is doing nothing. That's actually your biggest risk. Like actually
yeah,
taking some action and moving it towards a certain a goal or
You know,
endpoint is actually not as much as a risk as people think.
I like that
That
too.
yeah, because like standing still is a very dangerous strategy. So something needs to be done to move it in that direction because the competition is closing in an aggressive way,
That's a good
uh,
point.
and and there needs to be some sort of movement within that
I
direction where, and that movement needs money and it needs a form of leadership. So I think
I
the
I feel like there's less pushback lately. I mean, we had a Twitter space. We talk about marketing calls. You know, I've been people listening to the recorded Twitter space, and they're not getting. I'm not hearing like outrage. I mean, this
yeah
was brought up a couple of years ago, more maybe early 2021, and there was a lot of pushback. And I think maybe it was just too early then. But I kind of like
yes,
doing it now because it kind of like actually some of those competitors you're talking about, I think are running out of cash. You know, they're running out
I
of
agree.
money. I have this
I agree.
feeling, and
Doing it
we're
now
gonna
with
get
this,
this. Yeah, we're gonna have this like rocket booster just pumped in a bear market, right? Like out of
yeah,
nowhere, nobody's even expected. There's this boost of like capital into the ecosystem.
and then you're passing over straight into the beginning of the bull market, and the thing will just
Yeah,
absolutely take off. I mean,
exactly.
it will take off, and you'll never see the backside of a dollar again.
Yeah,
For Handshake coins and for all the TLDs, they'll be worth what they should be.
exactly.
Which and there'll be that momentum. I think it'll be a uh,
Okay.
very big thing.
Okay, so I think maybe we move to the next point.
Yeah,
We have a couple the next steps. What are the major steps or timeline? I mean, obviously this can't happen quickly. We don't want it to happen quickly. You know, can you kind of give us some of the steps that
sure. Well, I think first of all we need to write a proposal together. I mean, my background is kind of journalism and editing and stuff. I can help consolidate that. What would be good for now is to hear from people who could contribute to a meaningful proposal. We want a proper proposal, like sort of 10-page proposal with the technical and governance and various other aspects outlined in it, and we want to put that together, that document. And so it's. I mean, this is a kind of if we put this together, whatever happens, it'll be a historical document.
yeah,
So
would be amazing.
it's an important document. I know that Jordan is Eskimo has uh, encouraged the use of HNS chat, which I think is a good idea to drop in comments and things like that. You can email. Probably the easiest way is email me at daniel@handshake.org with your details of how you can contribute to that document, if possible. And I'm going to talk to one or two of the founding engineers in
Great.
Handshake and see what they say in terms of what they can do. So email me if you want to contribute to that document and put comments in HNS chat because we really want to try and keep the dialogue for this. It would be good if we could have that dialogue for the hard fork in HNS chat because then that'll be pretty much the content of what's going on in HNS chat, won't it? It'll be the hard fork conversation.
Yeah,
So we can kind of keep it segmented into there.
great.
Daniel, Daniel at handshake.org. And we'll try and put together a coherent document, outlining these points, but also, there's a lot of technical issues. So we want to hear from, the great
Yeah, the
engineers and technical
technical.
people. We want to hear from everybody really who might have something that needs to be included in that document. And then we'll take it to the miners. I mean, the miners consist of a number of smaller miners, Bitmain and others, don't they?
Yep, and then the miners, there's gonna be some code updated that will include whatever has been agreed upon. I think
Yeah.
everybody's agreeing on extending the names of major internet companies, but I'll say it.
So if that's
I
going to
support
happen,
this
if
proposal.
that's
So
right, that's that.
hopefully
There's consensus on
we want consensus. We I I think time frame probably earliest would be 6 months, right? We're in almost in June, so maybe end of the
it.
year
Probably
might
right.
be earliest to do this. I think realistically, or what do you think?
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
faster.
probably correct. By the time we've got all the technical, by all the time, all the technical considerations and what have you, And also, you'd have to form a foundation legally. You'd have to put those people on there. Then you'd have to arrange for, the coins to. Well, there will be investors who want to buy portions of those coins, and so we'd want to arrange that. So I think you are looking at that. That's right.
Okay, great.
But it could be I'll leave it at this. This could be a very pivotal. I mean, we don't want to leave it too long because the competition, like I say, is closing around, and this protocol desperately needs I would say, even aggressive leadership, because this is tech at the end of the day. Tech is a very aggressive place, and it's a very ruthless place. And if you're not organized, well capitalized, and if you're not very aggressive with your competition, someone else will take your place. This is a time-honored truth. Absolutely.
Okay.
It would be a tragedy to see that happen with Handshake. So we want to try and kick this around. Write to me, get involved, and let's put together a proper proposal and see if we
Awesome.
can do this.
Yeah, no,
Thanks, Mike.
thank you so much, Daniel, too. All right, let's do this, and excited to hear the next steps.
Cheers.